What is going on, everybody? It is Ahmed, and I am back today with yet another video for you on. Today, guys, we got to give more updates on ticker symbol NVO or Novo Nordisk. Now, a lot has happened in terms of price action for the stock. We saw a really downturning February as tech stocks and healthcare stocks together took some pretty big hits. But Novo Nordisk still sitting right around $49.20 at the time of this recording. I think the upside is still so massive for 2026. And there are reasons as to why my bull case or my bull catalysts continue to rise and why I do believe this is still a really good buying opportunity for this multi-billion-dollar Danish stock. But remember, as always, never financial advice, just trying to put you guys on the plays that I'm in. If you're new around here, smash the like button and also consider subscribing to the channel. So Novo down about 0.2% on the day. On the 5 days, it's pretty much running sideways, consolidating, if you will. And against Eli Lilly, that's down 1.71% on the day. There are some things that are surfacing that give Novo Nordisk some big advantageous short-term and midterm catalysts that could push this stock much higher. Now, first and foremost, let's talk about what happened as of just a couple days ago. Novo Nordisk stock fights back against Eli Lilly with an Ireland move. Novo Nordisk stock will produce Wegovy pills in Ireland after attracting 240,000 users in the first 5 weeks as CEO battles Eli Lilly for obesity drug market share. So this is, of course, from Block Onomi, and it says here the TLDR, that's what we're going to highlight for today's video. Novo Nordisk plans to manufacture Wegovy weight loss pills at its Ireland facility for global markets outside of the US, which again, one of the bear cases was, yes, FDA approval means US-based clientele or patients will start utilizing the medication, but now we're looking at the expansion of the Wegovy pill internationally. Over 240,000 Americans started using the pill version of Wegovy since its launch in January, with 38,220 prescriptions in week 5. CEO Mike Dosterter called it one of the most successful pharmaceutical debuts ever as the company battles Eli Lilly. The Adalone plant expansion follows an 85 million euro acquisition from Alkermes in 2024. Novo warned of potential 13% sale decline this year due to pricing pressure from the Trump administration. That piece here is, of course, what led to the stock drop over from where we were ranging at $64, $65, followed by the really big red day that we saw, almost a 15% down draw in a single 24-hour trading period, single day. So again, the fact is, though, this global expansion could potentially actually, instead of seeing a potential 13% sale decline, we could start to see this ramp up in sales going into Q2, Q3, and even Q4 of 2026. And what I'm most excited for is Q1 earnings that will be reported in Q2. The possible upside of Novo Nordisk stock. This is from Seeking Alpha. And I think they did a really good job of breaking down the due diligence. But again, to summarize, weight loss treatments provider Novo Nordisk might have experienced a sharp stock decline after disappointing 2025 results with their Q4 earnings that were reported earlier in February and a 2026 outlook, but it has seen an impressive bounce back since. While the expected financial weakness is a real downer, there's a possibility of a sales surprise this year, considering the company's recent vigorous actions as well as promising launches. Because remember, even with the Hims stock news that I covered on the channel, we know that with Hims now potentially not being able to dispense the oral GLP-1 Wegovy generic, that can also fuel a lot more excitement to get people back into Novo Nordisk's product. Novo's forward PE or price to earnings has fallen so low now that further upside looks unmistakable. This is especially true as the company is expected to return to improved financial health from 2027. Looking for a portfolio of ideas, they kind of go in and talk about that. But again, you guys need to make sure whenever you're investing or you're looking at different things, you pay attention to the balance sheet. One of the most important things to look at. US ops are important, but global sales are also, and international operations are also important. And that's what I want to see an expansion to. Of course, with the Wegovy pill, we will see an uptick with US operations and all the growth that they're going to see with the Wegovy's oral formulation. But the international operations, that line of the balance sheet in the EU, emerging markets, APAC, and even region in China, these are all things that we need to make sure we're focused on and learning about as we continue to figure out, adding to our due diligence and increasing our positions. Now, one of the pieces of FUD, or fear, uncertainty, and doubt that plagued the market was from MarketBeat. Zion's Band Corporation National Association, which is an institutional firm, if you will, UT, sells 30,370 shares of Novo Nordisk AS with the ticker symbol Novo. So whenever we see institutional offloads, it does cause some panic in the market, and retail typically follows. But they cut its stake in Novo Nordisk by 45.7%, selling 30,370 shares, but also leaving behind 36,000 shares valued at right around $2 million in its most recent 13F filing. Novo Nordisk beat quarterly estimates at $1.01 versus 90 cents, and revenue $12.43 billion versus $11.97 billion, and reported a net margin of 33% ROE of 68.91%. Analysts are mixed. The consensus rating is hold with an average price target of 56.07. So with that being said, there's still an upside to Novo, but I think, again, the big thing that we want to see is Wall Street's expectations being destroyed, with Wegovy's pill rollout being a lot better than expectations, which will make people reassess and probably double down and buy either dollar cost average up or down, depending on their essential or initial position. Novo Nordisk stock generates retail buzz after European Commission approved 7.2 milligram once weekly dose of the Wegovy injection. So again, talking about global markets, this was also a pretty big piece of news. The approval follows a positive recommendation from the European Medicines Agency, or the EMA, and is supported by data from clinical trials involving more than 1,400 participants. And you guys can see this was published earlier this week, and it kind of talks about the big main things. The approval allows doctors to prescribe 7.2 milligram dose as 2.4 milligram injections together for once a week. And the company recently sued Hims & Hers Health for selling compounded versions of semaglutide, oral formulation, and even injectable. So with that being said, we'll kind of see what happens in the short term. When we look at TradingView and we look at Novo Nordisk stock itself, again, there's so many different opinions and people are talking about this, that, and the other. But the fact is right now, when we look at the moving averages in general for Novo Nordisk, we are trading below the majority of them, right? So the exponential moving averages right now at current price, we're still considered oversold. Even though when you look at RSI, which is the relative strength index, one of my favorite indicators, anything below 30 oversold, anything above 70 overbought, we're currently sitting right around a 41, which would be considered, again, somewhat more neutral, but on the lower end of the RSI, which still considers it a buying window or buying opportunity, as long as there's positive catalysts that will fuel the next leg up. So again, guys, I appreciate your continued support as always. That's all I had for you today. And until next time, as always, everybody, keep investing. Peace.